Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Debt Free Me. My name is Yana and in today's video I am going to be reviewing my last bit of spending for my December's paycheck, and I'm also going to be closing out my December spending plan. On the 21st I had a no spend day, so that totals 5 no spend days that I have had for my December's paycheck. On the 22nd, I went to Wegmans to grab some lunch, and that came from the food account, and that came up to $37.63. I also went to Food Lion, same day, to get dinner, and that came from the food category, and that cost $32.27. I also found myself scrolling on Fashion Nova late night, and I saw there were 2 items that was on my wish list that I really wanted, and they finally was back in stock. So I went ahead and I grabbed those 2 items, and so I'm not sure what category that's going to come from just yet, but I have to cover $23.16 worth of spending. I also went to Walmart and grabbed some snacks. This is coming from the food category, and this was $10.49. And then I also overspent in my takeout fund and my Christmas fund. So let's go ahead and see where the monies for these overspent items are going to come from. Here's my expenses remaining check-in. And as you can see, my food category has $11.93. It is actually a little bit more than that because I did have some discrepancy between what I actually had in my bank account and what my tracker says I should have. My hair account, I have $77.84 left. My daughter account is fully exhausted. I do have some money in my car gas fund for $25.72. There's no money in massage. There's only $2 in household. My medical, I do have $20.68 left there. There's no more money from my birthday fund, just about $4. And then there's nothing left for my miscellaneous. So what I'm thinking is that I can, for my takeout overspend category, I can use the money from Medico to cover that. And then for my Christmas overspending, I could use the money from my hair account. And then maybe for my Fashion Nova spending, I can use that money from my car gas fund. This sounds like a plan. Let's do that, and then we'll see what's remaining in these accounts. Okay, so Fashion Nova, that money's going to come from car gas fund. My overspent for my takeout is going to come from my medical. Christmas, I took the money from my hair account for Christmas. So let's see what we have left in these categories. Let's go ahead and just review everything. From my food category, I have $11.93 left to spend. From my hair account, I now have $60.80 left in there. From my daughter's account, still 89 cents left. From my car gas fund, I have $2.56. From my massage account, I have no money left in there. From my household fund, I have $2.02 left there to spend. For medical, I have 35 cents left there to spend. Of course, takeout, I overspent. For my birthday, I have $4.48 left to spend. I overspent for my Christmas fund. And miscellaneous, there's no money to spend with just a penny left in that account. So this is all that I have left after this crazy month of spending for December. I've had several overspending categories, but at least I was able to cover them within other categories. Now that I have gotten that spending out of the way, let's go ahead and close out this December spending plan. So for my income, I did budget $5,846, but what I actually received in income is $5,981.84. That's a difference of $135.84. And why I had this increase is because I did get my yearly raise in this paycheck. I am salary, so I only get paid once a month, and I do not have any chance of any overtime. My husband also gives me $400 every month. And as a disclaimer, we do not combine finances. I know you all are probably wondering why I have this little note here. It says husband have $250 left to spend. So I put this little note to myself because out of the $400 he gave me, I had $250 left to spend after I used $150 to go towards my miscellaneous account for my daughter. So what I budgeted was $6,246, but what I actually received was $6,381.84. So for my remaining left of what I should have is $410.03. However, I have more than that, and we'll discuss that a little bit later in the video. Now, in regards to my pie charts, this is the budget income breakdown. So what I budgeted versus what my actual income went to. And I do like these pie charts. So I'm just going to point out the differences. So I did budget for 34.2% of my income to go towards my expenses. However, as you can see, for my actual income, 36% of my income went to expenses. My bills for my budgeted, I was supposed to have 38.5% go towards my bills, but for my actual, it came in a little lower at 37.2%. Let's go ahead and go to my bills category. So for both my rent and my energy bill, I already knew what that was going to be by the time I did my spending plans. I did pay $1579.30 for my rent, and for my energy, I paid the $143.03. For my Nana's mortgage, I did put the $31 towards that. And for my life insurance, I budgeted $55, but I spent $54.70. For my Amazon, I put $20 aside for that, but the bill came up to $16.11. For worship, I did budget and actually give the $400. For Disney Plus, I budgeted $20, but as you can see here, I actually did not give any money towards Disney Plus. So Disney Plus was a new subscription that I was going to take on because I like BTS, and two of the members from BTS, Jimin and JK, they have a traveling show called Are You Sure that is premiering on Disney Plus at this current time. So I wanted to watch it, and so I was going to pay for the subscription to watch this while it was airing, and then I was going to get rid of it. However, my husband was able to get some kind of deal with our phone carrier for Disney Plus and two other apps at a discounted price, so he's actually paying for that at the current moment. I will review the differences of what I budgeted versus what I spent when I review my income summary towards the end of this video. And that way it will decrease a lot of repetition. For my expenses, I budgeted $700 for food and I gave $700 for food. I budgeted $200 for my hair account and I gave the $200 for my hair account. For my daughter's account, I budgeted $200 and I gave the $200. For my car gas, massage, household, medical, I budgeted $100 each for those and I did give that $100 for each. For takeout, I budgeted $150 and I did give the $150 for that. For my birthday, I budgeted and I gave myself $220 for. For Christmas, I budgeted and put actually $100 towards the rest of the money that I had saved for Christmas. And for miscellaneous, I budgeted $27.67, but I gave $177.67. And so, as I was saying earlier in this video, I used $150 that my husband gave me from that $400 to put towards this account because my daughter needed a new bed frame and a new pair of sneakers for her ballet parade. For my savings, for my daughter high yield savings, I budgeted and gave $100. And then for my high yield savings, I budgeted $100 and gave $100 towards that. I currently do not have any investments outside of my retirement fund. So this area is blank. I hope to be able to give some funds towards this, but that's after I'm done with paying off my debt. In my debt section for my Discover credit card number 2, I budgeted $1,000 and I paid $1,000 towards that credit card. My Citi credit card, I budgeted $100 and I paid $100 towards that credit card. For my student loans, I budgeted $300 and I paid $300 towards the student loans. We've been over an expenses remaining check-in, which I am not going to go over because that is very repetitive. But what I wanted to focus on was total expenses spent for the month. And so, as you can see, for food, I spent $723.85. For me and my daughter's hair for the month, I spent $373.29. For my daughter's account, I spent $219.15. From my car gas fund, I spent $126.42. For my massage, I spent $100. For my household, I spent $105.34. For medical, I spent $99.65. For takeout, I spent $184.70. For my birthday, I spent $215.52. And for Christmas, I spent $512.04. In my miscellaneous fund, I spent $191.78. Now, this comes to a total of $2,851.74. And I actually gave $2,147.67 for my expenses. So that leaves a difference of $704.07 for my expenses. That's a lot of money. I do know that I had some rollover from my other accounts from last month, and so it might not be as bad as it seems, but that is a lot of money for total expenses of what I gave and what I actually spent. I went back to my remaining actual. I should have $410.03 in my account. However, when I checked, I had $452.14 left. $250 of that $452 came from the money that my husband gave me because, as you remember, I had $250 left and I did not spend that money. And I had $200 left in my account besides that money. I don't know where it came from. Maybe possibly some rollover. I know last month I had a rollover of $101. This month I did have a difference of $135.84 of what came in. So I'm thinking that could be it. That's where I'm assuming I have the $452 left in my account. I'd rather have more in my account than negative monies in my account. Let's go ahead and review income summary. So again, like I said, I budgeted $6,246 and what actually came in was $6,381.84 for a difference of $135.84. For my bills, I budgeted $2,248.33, but what actually went out was $2,224.14, which is a difference of $24.19. And then for my expenses, I budgeted $1,997.67. What I actually gave towards my expenses was $2,147.67. And that was a difference of $150. My savings, there was no difference. I budgeted 200 and I gave 200. For my debt, no difference either. I budgeted 1,400 and I paid 1,400. So for my budgeted, I had $400 left, but actually after putting all my actuals in, I had $410.03 left to spend, and that's a difference of $10.03. So now with that being said, I am going to label this as a spending plan fail, and I am going to do better next month. One of the things that I did notice that probably was setting myself up to fail was when my husband gave me that $400 and I didn't give that $400 a job. And then also not tracking my daily spending. I should have started tracking my daily spending no matter how busy I was. And then being intentional about my spending. We had a lot of takeout this month. Some of that takeout money was supposed to be for takeout for Christmas, but I have overspent and exhausted that category. So now I will have to take money from my January paycheck to put money towards Christmas dinner. Those are the three things I will work on: budgeting every dollar to the best of my ability, being more intentional with my spending, and daily tracking. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate all the support, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye.